So Laura, thank you for being here and doing this for me.
Yes.
So we'll just get started with the first question.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and how your practice serves the world.
My name is Laura Abernathy, and I serve through my not for profit 501c3 School of the Soul
Mhm.
called the Tree of Life Sanctuary, and I do that as a soul liberation coach.
Awesome. That's great. And we are actually in the sanctuary currently, the
Correct.
current
Hmm.
location of the 501c3
Yeah.
Tree of Life Sanctuary. So great.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm sure me and the rest of us would love to know a little bit about your background. So
Hmm.
could you tell me a little bit about your background?
Yes. It's very diverse.
Mhm.
I've had actually 4 careers over 44 years.
That's awesome.
And the first one was law enforcement. I was
Hmm.
with San Diego Sheriff's Department
Wow.
as a deputy sheriff,
Yeah.
and that's what I got my education in. I thought I was going to be in that forever. Well, that didn't happen that
Hmm.
way,
For most of
thankfully.
us, it doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
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 And the second one was information technology.
Mm.
And this was back like when the silicon chip was just being created. Back when they called that field data services or something
Uh-huh.
like that. I mean, it's
Very technical. Yeah.
very
Like not very consumer oriented.
right,
Yeah.
very much so. And then after that, I got to where I realized I wanted to have my own business,
Hmm.
and I had a mixture mostly of doing services that were office administration and
Gotcha.
then bookkeeping,
Yeah.
and I did that for quite a while. And then I got to where I felt like, okay, I felt really ready to just step into what was really authentic for me,
Hmm.
and that was to be a life coach and a spiritual teacher.
Nice.
And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 some years.
Yeah. So what kind of just a quick question off of that,
Hmm.
what prompted you like what internally shifted to where you knew that you wanted to start your own business?
Well, I really wanted to design my day.
Hmm.
I didn't like the idea of going somewhere and having to stay there
Yeah.
all day long and to do what I was doing. I loved the work,
Yeah.
but I didn't necessarily like having to go somewhere to do it.
Yeah.
And I really liked the idea of, even though sometimes I might need to go do that as a business owner for
Uh-huh.
a client, they might have work that needed to be done at their
Hmm.
location. Primarily, what I enjoyed doing was working out of my home office.
Nice. Yeah.
So that was really a big motivator. And I got to structure when I got the work done.
Hmm.
And I didn't have to wait for 12 o'clock to have my lunch.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, if you
know,
were hungry.
I could,
Yeah, as long
I
as you
could,
didn't have a client session.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I could work actually through till 2 o'clock if I wasn't hungry. I just liked being able to be managing my own day.
So there, you said there was a point where you realized that you wanted to fulfill like your true passion and
Mm-hmm.
calling,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that was spirituality. How long had that been kind of festering within you and wanting to come out before you acknowledged it?
Well, um, I've been a spiritually oriented person since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly I was focused on myself,
Yeah.
developing myself for
Mm-hmm.
big portion, many years of my life. And then I got to a point, and I guess that was, how long ago was that? I'm going to say 25, 30 years
Uh-huh.
ago. Yeah, something like that.
Nice.
And and what was happening around that was that I really felt like I had accomplished so much in my life based upon that training
Mm.
that I'd had.
Yeah.
And it was time for me to give back.
And share that, and
Hmm.
you felt like you had like reached a level of capacity that then you wanted to like overflow and share that
Right.
with the world.
I wanted to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And also, I knew that by doing that, it would continue my growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So knowing that you're a spiritual teacher and that you're running the Tree of Life Sanctuary as a spiritual nonprofit,
Hmm.
what is your approach to healing?
Well, it's spiritual based.
Hmm.
To me, the healing is all encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree on that. It's
Yeah.
all levels,
Yeah, we talked about
physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual
that.
too.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those are how do I put it? All those levels are mirroring
Mm-hmm.
at who we are at the core.
Yeah.
And so there are opportunities when we have challenges on any of those levels. There are opportunities for us to address what's getting in the way of us just being totally healthy and totally
Mm-hmm.
happy.
Yeah. That makes sense. So like happiness and health are like a flow,
Mm-hmm.
and there's essentially dams or dampeners on that flow.
Right.
And your approach to healing is uncovering those to just let
Yes.
the energy and let the healing flow.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. To bring each individual to a place of choice, awareness, and choice, so that they can decide what they truly really want.
Yeah.
For their life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that you run like a personal mission statement course,
Mm-hmm.
like a one-on-one. That's very powerful. I've been through it. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But also you've developed that and you've created that mission for your Tree of Life Sanctuary. So would you share that with us?
Yeah, and it's a product of myself and the board of directors, of course.
Yes.
Nothing great is ever accomplished alone.
Yeah.
And you and I know that.
Uh-huh.
And the mission of the school is to uncover the divine in spiritual seekers by nurturing self-exploration.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. That's amazing. And so then on like on a more broad level, what specific, like, if you could choose one thing that you would like to see different or more positive in the world, what does that vision look like?
Just everybody being happier and more joy, because that raises the energy level of everything on the planet, and it makes life better here.
Yeah, for all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And so we feel that a big part of the Tree of Life Sanctuary's contribution to the world is to support people in doing that in themselves.
Yeah. And
the more people that do that, then it's exponential.
Yeah.
Everybody.
That's amazing. I mean,
benefits.
I don't know how many times that I've like had a bad day or day just kind of started off weird or like not the way that I anticipated, and went into a grocery store to get something, and the clerk just has like this amazing like vibrant energy, and then you leave that like registration feeling more vibrant, energized. So it's like by that person being happier and healthier, like just that quick like 1 to 2 minute interaction changes so much about the next person's day that then changes everyone they interact with. So just on a basic level, it makes so much sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So module 1 of the Thriving Practice system is the Thriving Practice mindset.
Yeah.
And so how we define that is the perspectives and internal beliefs that either contribute to our success or contribute to our struggle as a practitioner.
Yeah.
So would you give us a few of what you think are important factors that lead to the success or lead to a more abundant, like thriving practice mindset, and why those factors?
Yeah, totally. That's the core of it, really. And I think of course, it would be the first module.
Right, exactly.
That's the foundation.
Yeah.
Well, for me, there's really two that are really primary. The first one for me is that, as I mentioned before, nothing great is ever accomplished alone. And that's not just in the physical realm, it's also in our connection with Source.
Yeah.
I call it Source. Other people call it God or the universe. Yeah, there's lots of different ways to approach it. And it doesn't matter. It's just about recognizing that I am in partnership with this unseen force, so to speak, that I have a relationship with. So just like having a partner in business, I see it as a partnership with Source. And so that is vital to me being able to continue to not only be inspired and brainstorm and create new things, but also to address challenges.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Like, for instance, my personal coach, that like gave me this simple tool a long time ago when I was struggling with feeling overwhelmed with how many tasks that I had to do, and it was to draw a line, and on one side have me, and on the other side the universe or God or whatever I believed in, and say, what are the things that you feel confident doing? Put those on the me side, and what are the things you don't feel confident doing? Put those on the God side, and say, I need help getting through these. So if you could clear some pathways and make it like easier for me, like I'll take your lead with confidence. And so like it makes sense that it would be vital, beyond just like your beliefs about business and what you can do as a practitioner, to look at your belief systems as a whole and your purpose in life, and what you feel the purpose of life is, and bring that into the starting and the running of your practice.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. That's it. Yep. And then the second one is to recognize that your practice, regardless of what venue of service it's showing up as, is actually a portal for what your gifts are to flow into the world. And so in a way it kind of it gives it a little more openness, and it takes it beyond just the linear thinking of it being a business, where it's just transactional and we got to make a profit, and there's a lot of linear important things to business that you got to pay attention to. But for me, it really elevates how I think about the practice, and it makes it so that I really feel like my gifts, my strengths, my specialty, it can be called your niche, it has a special place to flow into the world. And as long as I'm good at keeping the portal healthy and strong and open, I stay open and curious and positive and all the things that keep that healthy, then it really makes a big difference in how it feels to other people too. Yeah,
definitely. So what I heard you say was when you're feeling bogged down with the transactional nature of business, and like the task orientedness, what helps bring you back and center you into like why you're doing what you're doing is thinking of your practice like a portal, and having like the fact that you have created or are creating a channel for people to flow into, that allow them to experience whatever they want to experience in the world from your specialty.
Exactly. It's like it's a portal for me to give and for others to know where to go to receive it.
Yeah, and by remembering that, you bring yourself out of the overwhelm and the things that can be really stressful about the day-to-day of operating a business or a practice. Yeah. So you have a piece of your thriving practice mindset is that portal opening, and beyond that, like going into the day-to-day tasks, when you experience a challenge or a roadblock, how important is your perception of that, and I guess what is your perception of those challenges and roadblocks that happen along the way in anybody's business?
Yeah. Well, they're always going to be there. It's life on planet Earth, and I really have come to truly believe that all challenges really are opportunities, and that is just. It's just a matter of when things happen for me to be patient and to remember that, and to allow myself time to understand where they are or what the opportunity is. And one of the huge advantages also that brings for me is that by having that attitude, it helps me to stay centered and less likely to be thrown off balance when things happen that I don't expect.
That makes sense, because you can ask the question, what is the opportunity here, rather than say, why is this challenging happening to me?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. And I think that a lot of practitioners can relate to that, especially because most of us get into the healing arts because of something that's happened in our past. It was a challenge, a physical challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe even a mental, for therapists, like a mental challenge or mental health in their family. Right. It really gave them the passion to serve. So like, in perspective, that is the ultimate opportunity, the ultimate gift that came out of one of the biggest challenges that most of us experience in our life that make us passionate about health. Right. Yeah. Yep. So on a micro level, that can be applied too, right? So like you're trying to log in to one of your accounts to pay a bill and their server's down, or you can't remember your password and it won't connect to the account. Like those little things. Yeah. What is the opportunity there? What is this trying to tell me? Maybe there's something else I'm supposed to be working on. Maybe
take a break.
Exactly. Take a breath.
Get up and go outside.
Yeah. That's awesome. So for practitioners out there, anyone who might be experiencing those challenges can reframe that and from why is this happening to me to what is the opportunity in this, and that will allow them to maintain that mindset that builds a thriving practice over time.
And it builds our own energy too.
Yeah, exactly, because those little things can steal your energy over the day, over the week. Yep. Yeah. Yep. So speaking of of a mindset, we talked about the mindset for overcoming struggles and challenges in a business. Can you give us an example of one challenge or struggle that has happened for you internally with Tree of Life Sanctuary that might be of benefit to our practitioners?
Sure. There's one in particular that really stands out to me. And it's a really good one because it shows a lot of what we've been talking about, how it would be applied. One of the things that I got inspired to do a few years back was to have what I call team coaches for the Tree of Life Sanctuary, which you're aware of. Yeah. And that was primarily came to me because I knew I was going to need help. I couldn't coach everybody that came in as clients. And I also have a program I created at that time called Spiritual Satisfaction Program that I wanted to have coaches learn and be able to coach for me. It's a group coaching program. Yep. And so I started searching for someone to be the first one, and I found a wonderful woman who just magically came in. I was asking, partnering with Source, etc., the whole process. Yeah. And she really liked the idea, and so we brought her in, set up a contract with her, and she started in training, going through the program, and everything was going very well. And this was, I'm going to guesstimate here, like midsummer, July-ish of the year that I did this. And I think this was, I'm going to say, 2013, something like that. And it might have been, I might have my years mixed up, but the essence of it is that all of a sudden she wasn't showing up on these calls. Gotcha. And I, of course, got concerned. And one of the things you always do when you have an independent contractor is you have phone numbers, things to contact them. Yeah, of course. She wasn't answering her phone. And so there was an emergency contact, and to make the long story short, she had died unexpectedly. And this was a woman, I think she was just early 50s. And I was shocked and of course, very concerned and upset. And the people that I was in, her family, they were still, at the beginning point, they didn't quite know all the details. And so there was that period of shock and unknown. Yeah. And I had this group of clients that were in the program, and even though I'd been working with her along through the program, so it wasn't like it was the end of the world, I could still run the program. My heart just sank because it was like, oh my God, why did this happen? I went into why did this happen? Yeah. It's like everything was flowing so perfectly, and it was, I started going into that lower consciousness, lower emotions kind of reaction. Yeah. it pushed a button in me.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. And so I was, then I started to recognize, oh, okay, I had lost that center point, and so I pushed what I called my pause button, and it's that place where I sort of step back and remember, okay, this is a terrible situation, but there is an opportunity.
Yeah.
There's some what I call a divine purpose behind what was happening. And so I just had to get into that. I worked with myself to emotionally get into that place of trust. And that's where you're really leaning on that partnership, with Source, that there is something, that this happened for a positive reason. There's something better that's going to come from this. Even though I could not imagine what it would be. And so I just focused. I brought myself back into that place of alignment, and just opened up to the possibility that was true. And in that space, I was able to just focus on, okay, what, the immediate things that I needed to do to address the upcoming sessions, and to, of course, tell the people in the group that this had happened, that had become close to her already. And so I just continued to work with that, work through it, released it. Like you said, you had your 2 columns. Of course, I knew I could start looking for somebody else, but it was like, no, emotionally I wasn't ready, so I put it in the other column.
Like, please help me find somebody.
Source,
Yeah.
And 9 months later, I had a contract. We made a contract for you to be a team coach in that program. And so, as it turned out, I mean, we adored this woman, and of course, why that all happened, that's about her life, her soul work. But you and I obviously were meant to come together and work together in the ways that we have. And so you are an example for me of how that was a doorway for you to come in, and everything that's blossomed from our connection.
That's amazing. It's an amazing situation to bring to the table because it is so complex. Like, a lot of what we touched on before were they're transactional, minor things. And there's so many levels to this because first of all, you have a colleague who you cherished and respected who passed away, which in and of itself starts a grieving process. On top of everything you also have to do operationally that's not really emotionally attached in business. And so there's like this dichotomy of, like, there's things that I have responsibilities for, and you're feeling these emotions of like, well, why is this happening to me in my business? But then there can also be the grief of going through the loss of that individual, as well as the guilt for feeling the things you're feeling from a transactional business perspective. And feeling like, well, is this being too cold and calculated? Like, how do I even get past this? And so it's a really emotionally complex situation. Where you were able to find tools and techniques to honor yourself in the grieving process, to honor the participants who had been attached to that individual, continue that service, and ultimately continue your business on the course that it was going. And the biggest tool that I heard that you used was pressing that pause button and saying, I need to step back and take a breath, with whatever amount of time that you had and whatever the deadlines were, and find the space to deal with that situation while everything else was in operation. So ultimately, when you're approached with situations like that, you've given us 3 tools to incorporate into our thriving practice mindset and to continue working on our mindset as practitioners. That pause button, thinking of your business as a portal, and then the third one, sorry, I'm blanking.
Opportunity.
And then thinking of your practice and the challenges as opportunities for growth. And that story really, really brought all of those home together.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So just to wrap up our interview, first I just like to say thank you for being here. I'm sure that the participants and practitioners also thank you for sharing everything that you've had. But to wrap it up, do you have any other insights or advice that you would like to share with us all?
Well, first of all, there's two things I could
Hmm.
share. One is I have to reiterate that concept that nothing great is ever accomplished
Hmm.
alone.
Yeah.
Whether it's with a human being that we
Hmm.
reach out to, or an organization that supports what we're doing,
Hmm.
or source,
Yeah.
our connection, our partnership with that invisible aspect of our divinity.
Hmm.
It really is important to recognize that.
Yeah.
If we don't have the answer, we gotta reach out.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then the other one is, it's, to me, extremely important to be authentic,
Hmm.
to be your authentic self, because we can be concerned about um, being authentic
Hmm.
for lots of reasons, and a big reason today is in the culture we're in today, is being judged because we might be different somehow.
Hmm.
Um, so think about the concept that the we're we're going to be judged no matter what we do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
instead of doing what we think the world wants us to be, or having a business look the way we think the world needs it to be accepted, um, we're going to be judged for that. So why not just be who we really want to be,
Hmm.
and put our business out there in a way that is right for us, that feels right and authentic to us, and
Yeah.
then we can learn how to not be so vulnerable to being judged.
Hmm.
That's something that
Will happen over time.
will happen.
And you'll have to do over time anyway if you're
It's
being judged for one way or the other.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me,
Yeah.
that's really important, and that authenticity comes from listening to that voice within.
Yeah.
I People can call it lots of different things. Our wise self,
Yeah.
but our truth really is inside of our heart. So
Awesome.
those are the two key things from my perspective.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense uh, that from a judgment perspective, a lot of like holistic or alternative healthcare providers,
Mm-hmm.
even private practice medical doctors,
Mm-hmm.
receive a lot of judgment from
Mm-hmm.
like your standard clinic or your
Right.
standard service of care model.
Right.
And so that's something that I think a lot of practitioners struggle with. And a lot of us have made decisions based on that judgment. Like
Mm-hmm.
what does my brand need to look like
Yes.
in order to appease these people, but
Right.
still reach out to the market I want to reach out to?
Right.
When in all actuality, no matter what you do, those people are going to be pressuring and judging because that's their current perception and level of consciousness.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so going off of the concept that nothing great is ever accomplished alone, we're going to be touching on that a lot throughout this program.
Mm-hmm.
There's in almost every module ways that you can reach out for help and different resources, especially because a lot of practitioners are what I call solopreneurs.
Yes.
Where they're operating and they're the owner and they're the main administrator and financial and bookkeeper. They wear a lot of hats,
Mm-hmm.
so it feels like we're alone.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, finding ways that we can realize that we're not alone and that nothing great is ever accomplished alone, especially the growing of a practice that heals lots of people.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Thank you for sharing those two pieces of
You're
extra
welcome.
advice and wisdom.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for being here, and look forward to seeing how we work together and continue to work together in the future.
Me too.
If you would like to learn more about Laura Abernathy, you will find everything you need to below in the resource section. So thank you also for joining us here.
Bye.